Hey, what's going on, guys? So, I love it when stuff randomly comes in the mail, and today is one of those days. Open up my mailbox and got a couple of things from RetroFighters. It's actually their new wireless GameCube controller. Now, this is actually the second iteration of their controller. Apparently, they had one before. I think it's called the Blade, and this one's called the Battler. It's a little bit different. Apparently, they had some feedback, and they decided to implement it into this controller. They're both different in how they're set up, so it's very interesting to me to see this one. I actually don't have the first one, so I don't have them to compare, but I will say that the kind of changes they made to this is something that's going to make me a little bit happy, like straight out the gate, and I'll explain that why when we unbox it. But first things first, I want to unbox this thing for you guys, and then I'm going to show a little bit of gameplay. I'm going to play just a couple games on the GameCube, but I do specifically want to play a Game Boy player game, probably Game Boy Advance or something of that nature, because they said that the D-pad is supposed to be really, really cool for that, and you know how I am personally a stickler for D-pads. So without further ado, let's jump into unboxing this guy. So this is what you get in the box. They sent me two, an orange one and a purple one. I've actually already opened the orange one just so I can have it charging, which I'll be using for the video for the gameplay portion, but I wanted to save this one so you guys could see it. Once again, I always do like to say this, RetroFighters and I have had a really great relationship over the last since I started my channel, but once again, they never send me this stuff like with the expectation of me making a video. They don't pay me or anything, so all the views are my own, but the product was sent to me for free for review. You see the box though, it works on the GameCube, the Switch, the Wii, and the Wii U. I'm actually going to just be using these on the GameCube today because I've tried their other, I've actually done a video on it, their other Switch specific GameCube style controller, and because of that, I feel like this is really meant to be like kind of like a Wavebird replacement, so that's where we're going to kind of take this video. That said, you open the box, you have another box inside the box. They typically seem to do that. Move that aside. So inside this box, you have the controller and some other stuff. So you have the literature, and I do find this is a really cool, weird detail. Every one of their little manuals, the manual controller matches this. Like, so this one's purple. When I opened the orange one earlier, this was orange. I know that's silly, but it's just kind of fun. Like, I can't believe they kind of go out of their way to do that. They tell you what all the buttons do, how to pair, powering off, how to set up on the Switch, the turbo features, the LED indicators. Like I said, we're going to be plugging this into the GameCube, so it's actually just going to be really, really easy. You just plug it in. USB-C cord, they always include that, but no power brick, just like their other controllers. In here, you will see the dongle, which is substantially smaller than a Wavebird dongle. And also, it doesn't, so the Wavebird ones have like a little channel thing on them. These ones do not. They are just directly paired to the controller, so it's pretty easy just to plug it in and know what's going on. And then also in here is the USB dongle, which this is what you'd use to go into your Wii U, your Wii, or your Nintendo Switch. I will say that the Switch currently has like one GameCube game you could really kind of play, but the Wii U, I know the Wii U you can hack, and then like if you have an original Wii, you can play GameCube games, so this is really good for those. Very convenient. But all that aside, let's look at the controller itself. So here is the controller itself. The joysticks, they have the little notches in there, kind of like the joysticks for the for the actual GameCube itself. Both of them have that, so you kind of get the feel for the C-Stick too. Has a home button, a turbo button, plus, minus, and screenshot for the Switch, but of course it has the A, B, X, Y that we're used to from GameCube. The profile is that of a Pro controller. One of the big changes they made with this one, opposed to their original one, is I think the original one, from what I understand, had the like regular sticks side by side. And if you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, you know that I love offset sticks. I think they're just way better. It's one complaint I do. Like, I love my PlayStation, but I just the side to side sticks, I don't know why, it just didn't feel right to me. So I'm really glad that they have that here. They have, of course, R2, L2, R1, L1 is how they name them for the buttons. However, they essentially are the 2 triggers and the Z button. I believe the Z button is just mirrored twice, which have 14 and 13 are the shoulders. And then, yeah, so the 2 triggers, I guess, are essentially your Z button twice. In fact, here, let me go. I'll be right back. So this would be like your standard Wavebird. So you can see how they set it up to mirror it. You know, it's just instead of a C stick, you have this guy. But so essentially this button, the Z button, is just mapped twice. And then the triggers are the same. And the triggers are the kind of triggers they've been using. So, you know, if you've played with a Wavebird or just a GameCube controller, they kind of go up and down, like in and out. While these are like your classic triggers that kind of have a pull to them. You know, you may like that, you may not like that. I am kind of used to them by now. I mean, that's the same kind of triggers that like the Pro controllers use and Xboxes and all that kind of stuff. But if you are like a you know, GameCube, like it needs to be the exact thing, like it's not gonna quite be like that. The one thing I'm interested in though is I hear they have changed the D-pad to be a little bit better for playing Game Boy player games, so that's something that I'm excited to check out. But anyway, you know, we've been talking about this stuff for a little while now. Here's the size comparison side by side, by the way. Like I said, this, you know, the Wavebird, it has that GameCube feel. If you're trying to feel just like a GameCube controller, obviously this is not meant for you because this is based on like a modern day controller. But if this is, you know, if that's the controller style you like, and you want to play on the GameCube, I get the feeling this is going to be what's up. You know, one thing I didn't say actually is the weight of it. The weight of it, it's lighter than a Pro controller, I will say that, and it's obviously going to be lighter than well, actually no, I didn't realize the Wavebird controller is kind of damn light, which is weird because it has 2 AA batteries in it. It's about the same weight as a Wavebird controller, actually. It's about the same weight. It's lighter than a Pro controller, same weight as a Wavebird controller. But without further ado, let's play just a couple GameCube games and just kind of see how it runs. So the first game I decided to check out is Gotcha Force. This game is really, really cool if you haven't played it. It's also kind of a pricey game, but it's really fun. I picked it because it's kind of like an open world 3D arena type thing, so you get some good use out of the controller. You can see on the bottom that the light is lit up, showing that I'm playing as player 1. But I mean, let's just kind of just jump into. I haven't played this game in a long time, so forgive me if I look pretty poorly, especially because, gosh, I don't even remember like what these characters do. But it seems to control pretty good. If I just knew what the heck I was doing. Yeah, so essentially, let's see, you won't move around. So I mean, the movement's good. The camera's locked on in this game, so it's not a good display of using both joysticks. But the next game we have will show that. But so far, this feels just as good as like if I was just playing this with any old Pro-style controller or like Xbox-style controller. I'll be able to judge a little bit better, I think, the dual joysticks in the next game I'm going to choose. But I really just wanted to see how it just feels out of the gate. And out of the gate, it feels pretty dang good. Man, this game, it's been so long. I need to get back into this game. I used to play it a lot. But you know, for a game that uses literally 3 buttons, the joystick, and that's it, this is pretty easy. It's a good kind of first test. And like I said, I think on the whole, this one works pretty well. As far as, you know, showing that the controller at least works, and also at pretty good range, as you saw. So, without further ado, let's pop in a game that really utilizes more of the joystick and more of the functionality of this thing. So I wanted to pop in Sonic the Hedgehog because I feel like you get a little bit more out of it. There are some fixed camera spots, but there's also some spots that use the other joystick, and you know what? It works pretty well. I forgot that this game is inverted by default, but that's not the controller's fault. Let's jump into a level though and kind of see how it feels. So far, so good, I think. And the thing that's kind of a really good, this game is a good test, is you can play this game like on the Xbox and the PlayStation and use more modern controllers, so you kind of get the feel of that. And I'll tell you what, so far, it seems to be really quite well. I actually prefer the DX version of Sonic Adventure 1. Like, not that I dislike playing it on the Dreamcast, but, you know, there's some improvements on it that make it pretty cool. And I will say that the GameCube controller is a decent controller to play the game with. And this controller feels, you know, very good. It's very responsive. I mean, like I said, the console's in the other room, so I'm not even, you know, near the console. So obviously the wireless capabilities are good to go. Yeah, I mean, on the whole, so far, this working out quite well. Oh, yeah, I just felt the rumble. I forgot that you know, I'm just so used to older, you know, playing my older games and not remembering that some of them have rumble. Just had a bunch of rumble here with the whale. It's actually responding as he crashes, so, and it's not too egregious either. It's not like too much rumble. It just caught me off guard a little bit. I don't know why. I don't remember it rumbling on the Xbox, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, so that's cool. Another thing that I didn't know I needed to test that I just tested. But yeah, like I said, on the whole so far, it plays very well, very comfortable. Once again, I've said this a couple times now, I'll probably say it again, but if you are like really wanting to have that GameCube controller feel, I mean, the buttons feel that way for sure, save for the triggers, but you know, once again, this is obviously more of a Nintendo Switch Pro, Xbox style controller. But like I said, I love the offset sticks. That's just something that is big for me. I've always preferred that. So this improvement, that's an improvement that I really personally enjoy. You know, I'll just finish off this level and we'll call it. We'll play a Game Boy player game, because that's the next thing I'm really interested in, is the D-pad. The D-pad is supposedly been improved. Which is cool, because I'm going to test it out with one of my favorite Game Boy Advance games. I'm actually going to test it out with Mario Kart on the Game Boy Advance Super Circuit, because I think that's a really good game that puts a lot of wear on the D-pad. So without further ado, and, you know, we're tired of seeing Tails' butt, let's go ahead and switch over to that. So we're going to test this out. I'm going to strictly use the D-pad at first. I haven't even checked to see if the joystick, well, I guess, yeah, the joystick does work too, so that's good. But I'll try both, and we'll just see how it feels, and we'll also test out how these kind of shoulder buttons feel. As you know, you gotta drift a lot in this game. But yeah, this is one of my favorite Game Boy Advance games, so very interested to see how responsive this D-pad is. And I'll tell you what, so far, so good. Oops, I forgot that the Z button opens up the menu in the Game Boy player. Yeah, so far, so good. The shoulder button feels decent. The other shoulder button for boost, I'm not doing very well. Let's get serious for a second. But yeah, the D-pad actually feels pretty great. It's not clicky or anything. Has a little bit of a soft pull to it, like movement to it, I guess. But it's very responsive, and so there's no delays or anything. So I did one lap with 2 laps with the D-pad, and we'll do a lap with the joystick next and see how that feels. But so far the D-pad feels pretty good, and you know, there's not a lot of really D-pad intensive. I mean, like, there are some, I guess, but not like a crazy amount of D-pad intensive games. The joystick feels really good. It's actually, for this game, it feels like maybe it's a little better. I don't know, I don't want to be sacrilegious, but this doesn't feel bad at all, actually. I was expecting to really like the D-pad a lot more, but I think this is just as good, if not maybe even a little better. Wow. Yeah, interesting. So I guess really that's kind of an absolute win if you want to use the joystick or the D-pad. I was really expecting the D-pad to triumph here, but I am not opposed at all to this joystick. Let me just do maybe a little bit of one more race, just to get one more lap with the joystick and maybe switch him back again, just to make sure I'm not going crazy. Plus, I mean, Shy Guy Beach has some really dope bass in the song. Boom, boom, let's go. So I'm using the joystick still again. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna put the the little camera in the corner, so I don't know why I'm explaining to you what I'm using. And yeah, I mean, it does feel really, really good. I'm going to swap back to the D-pad on lap 2, just to double check, just to double make sure. But yeah, so far I'm really digging this for the Game Boy player. And get out of my face. And all right, I'm back to the D-pad. You know, the D-pad actually feels a little bit tighter than the joystick, I will say. The joystick, and I guess that's just like kind of the nature of a D-pad versus a joystick. You know, there's more pull on a joystick, there's a longer length, so that makes sense. You know, I don't know why I didn't think any different than that before. But yeah, I mean, so really it kind of depends on what you're doing. I bet you if you're playing like a tight platformer or something, you probably really definitely want to use the D-pad. But you know, even Mario Kart worked really well with the joystick. So I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts on this thing. I think it's pretty cool. Like I said, the rumble feature surprised me because I 100% just kind of neglected to remember that rumble is a thing on the GameCube. I don't know why in my mind. I guess I was thinking 64, how you had to have like the rumble pack. But it was cool. It was unexpected, and it was really neat to feel that. But yeah, that's kind of my views on this thing. It's a decent controller if you're into a pro style controller and want to play the GameCube wirelessly. You can't go wrong with this thing. I really like it. So, I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, you got to see me play a couple of games. You got to see me open it up. Does this interest you? You know, with Wavebirds being as expensive as they are, no matter what, anything alternatively priced is probably a pretty good solution. But this controller in particular, you know, it's one of those things where it's, you know, do you like the feel of a new kind of modern controller, or do you prefer when you're playing GameCube to have the GameCube controller feel? You know, I leave that to you. But, you know, let me know what you guys think down below. Hey, that's going to do it for us today, guys. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't, please do. That would be awesome. But as always, my friends, take it easy.